This is the surge the other way, the hemorrhaging of a dying nation. A humanitarian disaster unfolding, the UN says. Nearly 4 million Iraqis displaced now by sectarian cleansing, kidnap and carnage. 2 million have fled altogether, half of them here in Syria. Busload after busload arriving in Damascus, 100,000 more every month. Sunni, Shia, Christian, Chaldean and Turkmen all tell stories of chaos, destruction and death. The land they all love, no longer fit to be lived in. This woman's son has been kidnapped twice.
My tragedy as an Iraqi is that I've had to flee my country, abandon my home and turn my children into refugees. We were threatened again and again. They shut down my husband's shop, drove us out of our home.
A few years ago, this area on the outskirts of Damascus was just desert. Now it's packed with dozens of nightclubs, each one with 50 to 100 young girls, most Iraqi refugees, forced into the sex trade to support their families.
Sex tourism is thriving in Syria on the backs of Iraqi refugees in little belly dancing costumes. Assam Jafar opened the lighthouse 8 months ago. He claims to be helping refugees by paying the dancers $20 to $30 a night. They make more money when they leave the club with men. This is not abuse, this is work, he says. But Dunya, a refugee prostitute from Baghdad in her mid-20s, now a chain smoker with a nervous tic, told us some of the girls have been gang raped. She didn't want her face to be identified. God punished those who stole Iraq's dignity, she says. At a Damascus registration center for the 1.4 million Iraqi refugees in Syria, aid worker Cybella Wilkes says families are sometimes forced to offer up their own children just to pay for food and rent.
We know there are many working children, and the worst end is little girls being involved in what we call survival sex.
And we were shocked at how young some are. These are daughters of college graduates, engineers, doctors, and teachers, now trapped in a wildly different life, victims of war, and victimized again every night. Richard Engel, NBC News, Damascus.
The number of American military personnel killed in Iraq since the US-led invasion 5 years ago has now reached 4,000. The latest to die, 4 soldiers whose patrol vehicle was blown up by a bomb in the south of Baghdad on Sunday. And this on a day when around 60 people were killed in violence across the whole country.
They're now part of Iraq's landscape. Every day, American and Allied troops patrol the most dangerous places on Earth. Casualty rates have fallen, but now another grim milestone has been passed. 4,000 American dead in 5 years. This was how it began, a campaign of shock and awe designed for a swift victory. Of the 300,000 coalition troops involved, less than 200 were killed in the invasion. In May, President Bush was declaring mission accomplished.
Major combat operations in Iraq have ended. In the Battle of Iraq, the United States and our allies have prevailed.
Republicans are again bullish about the war. John McCain says if needs be, he'd keep forces there for 100 years.
I will defend the decision to destroy Saddam Hussein's regime. But Americans know that the next president doesn't get to remake that decision. We're in Iraq, and our most vital security interests are clearly involved there.
Meanwhile, the steady flow of bodies back to American military bases continues. This is not a widely publicized process, and media access is limited.
1 in 10 US soldiers killed in Iraq is buried in Arlington National Cemetery. The funerals are rarely seen by the outside world. There is simply less coverage of the war here these days. In a recent survey, little more than a quarter of Americans knew how many of their troops had died in Iraq. Richard Lister, BBC News, at Arlington National Cemetery.
I'll just make the same mistake. I'm not calling for a second chance. I'm screaming at the top of my voice. Give me reason, but don't give me choice, 'cause I'll just make the same again.